So, well, it's quite early for you, right? It's about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I've been up for an hour or so.
So what's happening today for you?
And nothing today. I'm just doing a bunch of errands today.
Okay. So let's start here.
All right, go ahead.
First of all, I don't know exactly how old you are when you were born and what,
I was born in 1930. I'm 65. July 3rd.
who were your idols when you were growing up?
Well, when I was young, there were only a few guitar players around in the country. One was Charlie Christian, like Charlie Christian, and he was my favorite at that time.
That's cool. Yeah.
Django Reinhardt, those were the two.
What about later? Did you have any influences later or
Later, a few years later, as I got a little older, I started listening to Barney Kessel, Jimmy Rainey, Johnny Smith. These are the guitar players I was listening to.
I know that, I mean, you're very famous for your reading abilities. How come you became such a good reader? Did it?
Well, because I wanted to be a studio player. I wanted to do all kinds of work. And so my goal was to do that. So I did everything possible so I started working with different kind of groups. Like I'd work with a jazz group and a Latin group and a hillbilly group and a Dixieland group just to get the flavors and the styles. In the meantime, I kept studying reading. I figured this way, if I ever made it to the studios, I would never be stuck on a style.
Do you still practice?
Well, I've always say I never practiced. I always played guitar. When I pick up a guitar, I have guitars sitting in every room in my house. Oh, open, because I'm a lazy person. Hey, and so by being open, there's one in the family room, one in the living room, one in the bedroom, one in the den. Whenever I feel like playing guitar, I call it playing, not practicing. I pick up a guitar, and I might sit there for 20 minutes, or I might sit there for 6 hours. I just enjoy and I love guitar, so that's exactly what I do. And I never know where it's going to lead me that day.
Follow the mood, you mean, right?
Exactly.
I can't read at all. I played guitar for 23 years now, and I've been a session player for many years, but I can't read.
Yeah.
But it's same thing I tell my students and friends, that I never practice at all. I just play because I love it. I think that helps.
Like I say, for the reading is just some. I never talk about reading as the ultimate. It's a way of. It's like a language. It's a way of being able to do many different things. But like I say, to me, playing the guitar is more important than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I always kid the people. I say, you never heard anybody say, let's go down to the nightclub and hear Joe Pass read. Let's go down there. I hear Tedesco's reading at this nightclub. You'll want to be able to play. Reading is just something to do other things.
It's just a tool.
It's a tool, exactly. Tool to read music. I can pick up the music from all around the world and just start playing it. Or songs somebody wrote for me that can hand it to me. Or legitimate cues or movie scores. That was a tool to do so much more. But like I say, to me, it's not the ultimate thing.
What do you think about the new players? I mean, not always the new players. Players like, for instance, Steve Lukather. Good.
Steve Lukather is a great player. I like Steve. We're kind of contemporary friends, and I like a lot of these players.
Like Landau, Dan Huff, Michael Thompson. These players. How well aware are you of the newer players?
Yeah, the very names that you picked are the players that I've been around and know.
Yeah.
And of them. Because there's always new players on the scene, and like I say, but a few stand out. Now, when you mention Lando and Dan Huff and these players, these are players that every once in a while I've worked with and I've admired for what they do.
I was a very good friend of Jeff Porcaro, and I know knew him and
Sure.
that and everything. And I recorded a soul album back in '91 with Jeff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and since he was a really good friend of mine, I've been putting together some kind of tribute to him. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but I've asked all the people that I interviewed the same question. What's your best memory of Jeff Porcaro?
My best memory of Jeff was when he first started, when he was just starting to break into the scene, and then all of a sudden I started to work with him. Well, I knew his father real well, Joe, because I worked with Joe so many times. And my best recollection was with Joe Porcaro. It's kind of a funny incident that happened. We went to the union one time to pick up our check. That's where we get our money. And so Jeff was there with a pile of checks. So I started trying to intimidate him in my own way. I said, "Okay, Jeff, I hear you're a hot player now." I says, "So right now, grab one of them checks. I don't care if it's $50, $100, $200, $500. We'll flip a coin and I'll match you." And he looked at me like I was crazy. I said, "Come on, pick a side." And I said, "I have my checks here, you have your checks." And so all of a sudden, he did. I kind of intimidated him to do it. So he took a check for about $250, flipped a coin, he lost. He endorsed the check over to me. And I just give him one of them looks as, "Kid, don't gamble with the big-time guys." And I walked away. And it was beautiful because he always loved it. And I'll never forget Joe Porcaro kid me. He said, "What are you doing to my son? What are you gambling with him?" I said, "Well, he'll probably won't gamble no more." We enjoyed it. He could definitely afford it. I could afford it. So it was more of a gag than anything else.
Exactly. That's a good story.
Yeah, and like I say, Joe heard about your conversation. "What are you doing to my kid?" And I said, "Joe, he didn't make a lot of money. He can afford to lose. So he could have won too." Yeah, so.
I know it's been said that you're probably the most recorded guitar player in history. Do you know how many albums you played on?
Oh, I have no idea. Because don't forget, in the 60s, every day, I would start work at 9 in the morning, go to 11 or midnight, every day for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Never have a day off. And you'd go from people like, Jan and Dean to the Ventures, the Beach Boys, to this, to that. And then in the meantime, you throw in the Sinatras in there and the Patty Pages from that world, or Tony Bennett from that world. And then just over and over, plus thousands of movie scores as the time went on,
Yeah. Do you have any clue at all are we talking 5,000? Are we talking 3? Are we talking 10,000?
Well, I would have it, or let me put it this way. Almost everybody that recorded in the 60s.
Yeah.
Everybody. I recorded with everybody. Everybody that had albums out on the West Coast. When they come up to the West Coast. If I said 5,000, I might be short or long. If I said 10,000, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But whatever, if you get a figure from anybody else, what they've done, just double line.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I always kid Lee right now, some of the youngest guys. For you guys, with the work going on now compared to when I was around, you'd have to work till you're like 75 years old every day, and you're never going to catch up.
Ain't that much work?
Yeah, because at that time, don't forget, only 2 or 3 guitar players did all the work in the whole West Coast. Did all of them. So every week I would get a call to do 50, 60 jobs, of which I would take 15, because that's all the time I would have. But like a Monday night, there would be a call. "Can you work with this guy, this guy, this guy?" I'd take the first call. And then all of a sudden, maybe 7 or 8 other calls would come in, but I was already booked. Same thing would happen for Tuesday night. Same thing Wednesday. So there were just tired of.
Were you ever frustrated? I mean, if you accepted the first job and then maybe the 5th job seemed to be better.
I'm not often.
Yeah.
Not often, because I was the one that rolled at the punches. But every once in a while, you say, "Oh my God, I wish I hadn't had this," But kind of that was the way you worked it, and they depended on you. Because if a guy called you, he knew you wouldn't be casting him out. Now, other guys were different. Somebody else would call them, and then if they got a better job, they would call, and get out of the what. I never did that because I wanted to know that if they hired me, if they wanted me, I was there.
Do you know the first album you ever played on?
And the first album I played on, oh, well, with the big band Ralph Marteri in 1953. See, I was traveling with his band on the way to the coast. And then when I got to the West Coast, I did some albums right after that with Tommy Alexander with a big band. And I did an album with Rod McCune. And we recorded an album with him. And from there, the next year, 1954, it was tons of them. And we kept building. By the time the 60s, it just went crazy.
So, do you have any memories of? I mean, this must be an impossible question, but do you have a favorite session of all the sessions you've done?
Well, I shouldn't say favorite session, but different situations that happen all the time, like the Frank Zappa sessions, Lumpy Gravy, and all that stuff that he did. I had seen pictures of Frank Zappa, and he looked scary,
Exactly.
and then I was scared. So I'll never forget when I got the call to work with Frank. I went in with it dressed as a Boy Scout. I just did it on purpose. I walked in with a little Boy Scout uniform, and everybody in the band just started, all the violin players, they knew, they were laughing, they couldn't get over it. So Frank come up to me, he says, "Hi, Frank." He says, "Hi, Tom, it's Frank Zappa." I said, "How you doing?" He said, I like your costume." And I said, "Frank, I like yours too, And so the next thing the next thing he said to me really overwhelmed me, because he says, "You don't remember me when I was 13 years old, I used to come to this nightclub you worked in West Covina, California, and I used to sneak in the back to hear you play. And I used to kid everybody. I says, 'Oh my God, Frank Zappa was 13 sneaking to hear me play. I didn't know he was ever 13. I thought he was hatched. I didn't know he was born or was a kid.'" So that was my regret. And then we proceeded to do these album Lumpy Gravy, and all of a sudden, all of this stuff was hard as anything I've ever done. And Frank come up to me, says, "Tom, it sounds great." And I looked up at me, I says, "Frank, I didn't play one thing you wrote here." He said, "That's okay, you got the feeling." I said, "Okay, if that's what you want, you got the feeling, I'll give you the feeling all night." It was so hard,
I can imagine.
So these are the kind of dates that I have memories of different things that happen like that.
Yeah. Do you have any memories from the worst sessions? You must have gone through hell a lot of times.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, I remember one of my first movie calls with Dmitri Tiomkin, big famous composer, Russian composer. And it was one of my first jobs, and all of a sudden all this writing was out there, music, I'm used to work with 4 or 5 people, little jazz groups. Now all of a sudden I was stuck with 50, 60 musicians. And I looked at the part, and it was a simple part, and I played it, but it come in at bar like 90. So he's over there conducting. Then all of a sudden, when I saw his hand go down, nobody played, I said, "Oh, I'll bet you this is me," because I didn't come in. And he looked at me, "Guitar player, you didn't come in." I said, "I'll come in." And, so he put his arm down, and then I sounded awful. I played all kinds of mistakes. He just threw up his hands. In the meantime, every musician turned around to stare at me. You're looking, and you're trying to look cool. You're smiling, and your face is all over, but it's true. Next time he tries it, by then you got the shakes all over the place. There's no way I could pull it off. And he says, "You get out of here." It threw me out. So that was one of my most embarrassing moments. Fortunately, that was at the beginning of my career. I was just a young kid starting. I was my second or third movie call. So fortunately, later, after I started working with Elvis Presley all over the place, they called me back at the same studio. They didn't remember I was the guy they threw out a couple of years ago. But this was different because Elvis was doing Viva La Mexico and Elvis in Mexico, and I did all these Spanish things that Elvis loved that I did. So I was back at MGM.
I know you play all your guitars, and whatever you play Hollywood style, you tune it like a guitar and just play it.
Sure.
And I know you have a lot of equipment, but do you have what's your main equipment? Do you have like a main rig? I know you play any kind of instrument there is, but what do you play the most?
Well, the most now that I've developed a Latin reputation, I play a Ramirez classical guitar, and I do that, for all my work. Most of my work is on like Latin movies, like a movie called Gloria, a movie with Kevin Costner called Renegade, and a whole bunch of these movies that were featuring me on guitar. They were featuring me, and I played on the Ramirez classical guitar.
Do you change strings that often?
I don't. I've got strings here that have been out for 10 years. The only time I change a string is if it goes out of tune. If it doesn't go out of tune, it's going to be there forever. I have a funny story. A guitar maker, all the guys come up to this guitar maker that made this guitar for me, Greg Brandt. And so all the guys wanted to know. They went to Greg Brandt and they said, boy, you make a guitar, it's beautiful. It doesn't do no squeaking. Tom's gut string always sounds beautiful. You never hear anything. So Greg Brandt looked at me. He says, I didn't have the nerve to tell him the reason it doesn't squeak. You've had the strings on for 5 years. They'll never squeak. They're so dead they could never possibly squeak. He says, but they all think it's kind of the way you play the guitar. We won't tell.
That's beautiful.
And so that was a funny story with him, because he tried to make guitar, and he's always kidding me about it, And like I say, every once in a while, the fourth string breaks on it, and I replace it, or the first string goes out of tune, and I replace it. Yeah. That's it. 6 strings been out since I owned the guitar, 12 years.
But still, you never get any problems with that. I mean, do you ever need more string from it? The sound of a new string.
No.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well, that's exactly what I get.
It's how many sessions do you do? But a week now.
Well, now I do. I went into semi-retirement. I had a stroke 3 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I had a stroke, so I just take a few jobs. Like the last music score I did was this one with John Williams, the Jewish movie.
Schindler's List?
Schindler's List. I worked on that one, and then I decided I better just to kind of go into semi-retirement. So now I do most of the stuff, like I'll do a single act, to do seminars and stuff. Then I'll do a job, but most of the time I don't want to, it's kind of time to just sit back and smell the roses.
But is it still as fun? I mean, if you could work as much as you used to do, would you do it? Or is it as much fun, or?
No, it's not as much fun. It was fun all them years in the 60s and 70s. It was really fun. I mean, it was the same guys. We went and did dates or rock and roll dates and all that, and we just always had a good time. And we had comradeship with everybody there. But now it's more of a big business. It's not the same fun.
It's really sad.
Now, as far as I was concerned, I was at the best part of the records. I was at the best part of the TV shows, and I was at the best part of the movies.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Even though I still love the magazine Guitar Player, the main reason why I bought it for all the years was your column, and I was...
It was amazing, like all the years I wrote for that. It was amazing how many people loved the article, So the first big disappointment in my life was when they called me and told me they didn't want me to write no more.
They told you they didn't want you didn't quit.
And I didn't quit, no. And I was very disappointed, and I called them up. I said, how come you don't want me ready? I said, isn't my column still, people call me all over the country, because at the Musicians Institute, I meet guitar players from all over the world that love the column. And they says, well, no, it's still popular, but we want to change the format right now. I said, okay, and I never understood it, because when something's popular, why get rid of it? The old story. If it ain't broke, why fix it? Like I say, I was surprised, and it hurt too. But like they said, look, I've been writing for over 10 years and more than anybody else, and that was always a stupid excuse to me. If everybody likes it and you're in a magazine, and like I say, I was very disappointed, because I used to love, right after that, I did the Godfather.
Yeah.
The Godfather 3, and I had all this music that I wanted to write about, mandolins and stuff. And it was funny to have these things happen to you and have no outlet for, so the kids could could understand.
Even like I said, I mean, I still like the magazine. It's a good magazine, but
Sure.
I really miss your column, and I wish I.
Well, I know many people told me that. That's why I never understood why they did. But I say, yeah,
It's sad. It's really sad.
yeah.
Going back to the rhythm sections that you were talking about, they seem to have, disappeared totally, especially for LA. I know they're big in Nashville now, but do you think they'll come back again?
I have no idea. They don't seem to be, and they don't seem to be, because I still talk to the many of the young folks who are doing all this stuff, and they all say it's different now. It's just not like it used to be.
They say that Nashville goes through the same thing that LA did around late 70s, early 80s.
Right. Hal Blaine, you know Hal Blaine?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just talked to Hal last week. He just come back from Nashville, and he said it was great over there. He just was out there, and he worked with Joe Osborne, and he saw like a bunch of all the old LA guys. They're all down in Nashville now.
Yeah.
Billy Strange and a bunch. And he says they recorded and it was a ball. He says it reminded him of the old days.
Do you do any gigs around town?
I've done a few.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I do a single act.
Yeah.
That in cut string. I do stuff.
Yeah, you used to play at a jazz club in LA.
Yeah, I used to work a lot of jazz clubs, had a quartet.
Right, but do you still do your clinic at JIT?
Yeah, I still do clinics, right?
What do you listen to at home? I mean, earlier when you were doing a lot of sessions, did you listen to music when you came home?
No, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I didn't want to contaminate myself with other stuff because we were so busy doing the other things. I didn't want to do that. And I, every once in a while when I listen to music, someone will say, here, I want you to hear that. And I'll listen. My son always comes home and has a record of different guys. And they'll say, listen to this, what do you think of this? Like just last night, he played me some things. And all I do is, listen and then give him how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And there's some great playing going on,
Is there any new music, any new bands or players that you like? Is it, especially the new kind of music, do you like it at all?
Oh, I don't know how to explain that because, like, I respect it and everything.
Yeah.
I respect it for Rich is all the stuff Van Halen was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I respect all that stuff for the technique and all that, but it's still not my favorite kind of music. I respect them as musicians, as guitar players. I admire them for what they do. That doesn't make me want to
do it yourself, right?
Yeah, do it myself.
Yeah. You're very well known for your sense of humor. Not only in the column, but
Sure.
Among friends. How long has that been going on? Is it something you were born with? Is it something that grew out?
Or when you say something, I just talk.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, something comes out funny. I didn't realize it was funny till later. I said, "Oh shit!" Now I know why that was. Because I just, I'm quite a truthful person, and so sometimes the truth is it's hysterical. Right? So, I mean, it's a sense of humor. I've had it all my life, no matter where I've been.
Are there any bands or any singers, musicians, whatever, that you haven't worked with that you would like to work with?
Not really, because in the singing world, I mean, I've just done so much, and with the bands too. I've covered a lot of people.
Yeah.
In all the years. There was my autobiography, there's 10 pages there of who I've worked with.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to see that. Is that something that I could get a hold of?
Yeah, well, Hal Leonard put the book out. So Hal Leonard's got the book.
It seemed that it took you many, many, many years that you discovered how famous you were, especially through the columns all over the world, recognized.
Absolutely. I was overwhelmed by this when I found out, because when you're busy working, and you're working and you read the column, you have no connection with the outside world. So I never realized, but it's the same as when I recorded all these things, or like when I was recording in L.A. Most guys knew what they were recording. They said, "Who are you recording with?" I said, this new guy Elvis or something. Then a year from then they said, you working with that guy? I said, yeah, I just did some things with that Elvis. It overwhelmed me when I think back at it. I said, oh my God, every once in a while I'll hear records that I've done or people I've worked with that were famous, and I had no idea because I never heard the record after I crashed it. I remember one time, the high-lows, there was one of the fellas there, Clark Burroughs. His wife made an album, One day, one day I was listening on the radio, and I heard this album with this girl singing. I heard this pretty gut string stuff, and I said, God damn, why don't they ever get a sound like that on my guitar? And I went through this whole thing mentally. Boy, that's pretty. God damn, they never get me recorded like that. Then I ran into Clark one day, and he said, I love those stuff you did with my wife, Marilyn, I said, oh, good. And I don't know what he's talking about because I worked for so many hundreds of people. I don't know. Did you ever hear it? I said, no. He said, I'll send you a copy. So it was real funny. He sent me 45 of the brig. I heard it, and that was the guitar sound that I was admiring on the radio one day. I had no idea. I'd done so much that I never paid attention. Like some guys, after the date, they would listen to radio and hear what they were. I'd be on #1 tunes in the country and not even know it. Not even know it because I never listened to the radio. I never knew what was going on. And in the meantime, I was busy working all the time. Busy working all day and night, so I never had a chance to and I have, like you say, I have maybe in the back room 1,000 records that were sent to me. And that's how I found out how it was on. I'd see my name credit. Like people come up and say, did you do this record with Neil Diamond? I said, no, I don't remember. And they said, but your name's on the credits. I said, well, then I did it. I have no idea.
So how much do you try to dig back now and find out?
Well, then now when I wrote the book, we did back, we found a lot of the things that I did. Like, for instance, I did work with the Monkees. So all of a sudden, I never knew, I read an article one day, and they were talking to Mike Desmond. They said, who did the guitar work on Mary Mary? And they said, Tommy Tedesco. So my son showed it to me. I said, oh, that's funny. And that, I don't know. So all of a sudden, he got me the record for Christmas, Mary Mary, and I hear all his rock and roll stuff with me playing solos. I had never known I'd done that. And Mary Mary was a big record with them,
Yeah.
But I had no idea that was me. Same with the Beach Boys. A couple tunes, like I read to the Beach Boys, they said, well, Tedesco came in and did this tune, did their solo on that. So I listened to it out of curiosity, and then I'd hear a guitar solo, That I had no idea. I did any solos with any of them guys. From one studio to another, just kept working,
Have you started collecting the gold records that you deserve?
No. Hal Blaine has maybe 300 of those. I only have 3, which they sent me. But I never went out after them. Like Hal actually called the people, would you give me a gold record? I have the ones with the Fifth Dimension, like Up and Away or something,
Yeah.
They sent me some gold records, so I kept them, and I put them on the wall. My wall's small. 3 is enough. Big enough to cover the wall and look at them and say, no shit, I did that. Well, that's good.
Like Lukather told me, basically they're only souvenirs anyway, so.
Well, that's what they are after a while.
Yeah. So, well, thanks a million for this, and take care, and I hope your health and everything will be fine.
And then enjoy yourself over there.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Tommy Tedesco, born July 3rd, 1930, was one of the most recorded guitarists in history, a key member of the famed Wrecking Crew session musicians in Los Angeles. His versatility on over 20 stringed instruments, including guitar, mandolin, and sitar, made him a sought-after studio musician in the 1960s and 70s. Tedesco's work can be heard on iconic TV themes like Bonanza, The Twilight Zone, Batman, and MASH, as well as Elvis Presley's '68 comeback special. He recorded with legends such as the Beach Boys, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, and Barbra Streisand, contributing to classic hits like Be My Baby and MacArthur Park. He also played on the soundtracks of major films, including The Godfather, Jaws, and The Deer Hunter. Despite recording jazz albums, Tedesco spent most of his career as a session player, even sharing behind-the-scenes stories in Guitar Player magazine. After a stroke in 1992 ended his career, Tommy passed away from lung cancer in 1997 at age 67. His legacy was honored in The Wrecking Crew, a documentary directed by his son, Denny.